Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're going to be exploring the world of cybercrime.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It is, and,
Yeah,
it's something that we all hear about,
right.
but maybe don't think about all that often.
Mm.
And so we're going to be using an episode of the podcast Tech Talk today to guide this conversation.
Oh, cool.
They cover all things tech and innovation, and in this particular episode, they were talking all about cybercrime.
I feel like everyone has a story about, like, almost being a victim.
Right, or actually being a victim.
Yeah, or, a parent or grandparent who's, like, fallen for a scam.
Absolutely.
So I think it's really relevant.
Yeah, it is. And so, as we go through this, I want us to both think about, what are the things that we do online in our lives that we should maybe be a little bit more careful about?
Mm-hmm.
And just to sort of lay the groundwork,
Yeah.
Tech Talk today, they define cybercrime as any illegal activity that involves a computer or a network or the internet. And they point out that this goes way beyond, like, the stereotypical image we might have of,
Right. Like that guy in the hoodie.
the guy in the hoodie in the dark room.
Yeah, in the dark room. Like,
Hacking away.
yeah. And they emphasize that actually a lot of cyber criminals are part of, like, sophisticated, organized operations.
Yeah, it's kind of like organized crime, but in the digital space.
Right. It's like a whole other world
Like, yeah.
operating beneath the surface.
And I think what's interesting, too, is that, like, the people who are running these operations are often very highly skilled.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're not just, like, some random person who learned how to code.
Right.
These are people who, like, have advanced degrees and
They're professional.
they're professionals, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah, and it's unsettling because it means they're always like,
One step ahead.
yeah, one step ahead. They're constantly innovating and developing new ways to exploit vulnerabilities.
So it's a real cat and mouse game, It's like the good guys versus the bad guys.
Right.
So one of the things that Tech Talk today dives into is the different types of cybercrime.
Oh, okay.
And they talk about phishing, which I think we're all familiar with.
Yeah, I like those emails.
The emails.
Yeah.
But they were saying that, like,
They're getting so good
they're getting really good.
that it's hard to even
Yeah, you can't even tell.
to tell anymore.
And they're using information they gather from, like, social media or data breaches to make them super personalized.
Oh, yeah. So you're like, oh, this person actually knows me.
Yeah.
You're talking about, like, my trip to Italy or
Wait,
whatever.
but how do they know that I just went on vacation or that whatever it is?
Mm-hmm.
And I have to admit, I've definitely fallen for those. Like, I've clicked on a link thinking it was my bank or, a friend.
Yeah.
And then, boom, suddenly I'm like, oh, shoot, this is not good.
Yeah, that's scary.
It is really scary. And then they talk about ransomware, which, we hear about all the time, but it's just terrifying.
It is like, can you imagine all of your files just being locked up and you can't access them?
Yeah, like all your photos, your documents, your everything, and then they're holding it hostage until you pay up.
It's like a nightmare.
It is a total nightmare. And they point out that, it's not just individuals who are targets, it's businesses, it's governments, it's everyone.
Right, and we saw that with the Colonial Pipeline attack.
Oh, yeah, that was a huge wake-up call.
They shut down one of the biggest fuel pipelines in the U.S. just like that.
And it led to, like, actual panic and shortages.
People couldn't get the gas prices went through the roof.
Yeah, it was chaos. And they ended up paying millions of dollars in ransom.
It's crazy to think about the impact that one attack had.
Right, like, it's not just digital, it has real-world consequences.
Exactly.
And then, of course, there's the Equifax data breach.
Oh my gosh. Don't even get me started.
Like, that was massive. They stole personal information from millions of people.
It's insane. Like, how can one company be so careless with our data?
It's scary, and it just shows you the scale of this problem.
Yeah, it's not just a few isolated incidents. It's a global epidemic.
Right, and it's something we all need to be aware of and take steps to protect ourselves from.
Absolutely.
So let's dive into some of those tips and strategies.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so we've talked about how big of a problem this is.
Yeah.
What can we actually do to protect ourselves?
Right, because it can feel really overwhelming. Like, where do you even start?
Exactly.
Well, the good news is Tech Talk today had a whole section on prevention.
Oh, good.
And they emphasized that, like, a little bit of effort can go a long way.
So what were some of their top tips?
Okay, well, first up, the classic strong passwords.
I know we hear it all the time, but
But it's so important.
yeah, I guess it's like the foundation.
It's like locking your front door.
You wouldn't leave your door unlocked.
Exactly.
Okay, so strong passwords, what does that even mean?
Well, it means using a mix of upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols.
Okay, so not just like password 123.
No, definitely not. and try to make it something unique for each account.
Oh, see, that's where I struggle. I use the same password for like everything.
I get it. It's easier to remember,
It is.
but it's also super risky.
So what do you do?
I use a password manager.
What's that?
It's basically like a digital vault for all your passwords.
Oh, so it remembers them for you?
Yep. It generates strong, unique passwords and stores them securely. So you only have to remember one master password.
That sounds way easier.
It is. It takes all the stress out of password management.
Okay, I'm sold. I need to look into that.
You should. And they also talked about two-factor authentication.
Oh yeah, 2FA. I've seen that around.
It's basically like an extra layer of security.
Okay, so how does that work?
So when you enable 2FA, it means that in addition to your password, you'll also need to enter a code from your phone or email to log in.
So even if someone steals your password, they can't get into your account without that code.
Right, exactly.
That's pretty smart.
It is. And a lot of services offer it now, like banks, email providers, even social media.
So it's pretty easy to set up.
Yep. And it can make a big difference in protecting your accounts.
Okay, so strong passwords, 2FA, what else?
Well, they also stress the importance of being skeptical.
Like, don't believe everything you see online.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to emails and links.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty good at spotting spam, but sometimes I do get tricked.
It happens to the best of us.
What are some red flags we should watch out for?
We always look for misspellings or grammatical errors.
Oh, yeah, like those emails from the Nigerian prince.
Exactly. And also pay attention to the sender's address.
You're right. If it looks weird or doesn't match the company, it's probably a scam.
Yep. And if an offer seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Good point. So, no clicking on that link promising me $1 million?
Uh-huh. Probably not.
Okay, so be skeptical, be aware of phishing attempts. What else?
This one might be annoying, but keep your software updated.
Ugh, I hate those update notifications.
I know, but they're important because those updates often include security patches that fix vulnerabilities.
So hackers can exploit them.
Exactly. Think of it like locking your windows and doors.
Okay, so it's like basic digital maintenance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it can really help protect you from attacks.
All right. I'll try to be better about updating.
Good. And then there's VPNs.
VPNs, I've heard of those, but I'm not really sure what they do.
Okay, so a VPN basically creates a secure tunnel for your internet traffic.
So it's like a secret passageway?
Kinda. Yeah, it encrypts your data, so it's much harder for hackers to intercept it.
So when would I need to use one?
It's especially important when you're using public Wi-Fi, like at a coffee shop or airport.
Oh, because those aren't very secure.
Right, anyone can be snooping on your connection.
So a VPN adds an extra layer of protection.
Exactly. Keeps your data safe from prying eyes.
Okay, that makes sense. I've been meaning to get one of those.
You should, and last but not least, back up your data.
Another one of those things I know I should do, but always put off.
I know, but it's so important, especially with the threat of ransomware.
Right, because if your files get encrypted, you can just restore them from a backup.
Exactly. You don't have to pay the ransom.
That's a huge relief.
It is. It's like having an insurance policy for your digital life.
Okay, I'm convinced I need to back up my data like now.
Good. And, the great thing is most of these tips are pretty easy to implement.
They are. It's not rocket science.
It's just about being aware and taking some simple steps to protect yourself.
Right, it's like building good digital habits.
Exactly. And those habits can make a big difference in your overall security.
So all this is great for like today's threats.
Yeah.
But what about the future?
Right, like what's coming next?
Tech Talk today talked about some trends that are kind of scary.
They are. It's like a whole new world of cyber threats.
So what did they highlight?
Well, one thing they talked about is the role of AI, artificial intelligence.
Oh, wow. So like robot hackers?
Not quite robots, but AI is being used by hackers to develop more sophisticated attacks.
So it's like they're using technology against us.
Yeah, it's like an arms race.
Yeah.
Both sides are using increasingly advanced tools.
But AI can also be used to defend against those attacks, right?
It can. Cybersecurity professionals are using AI to analyze data, identify patterns, and detect threats more effectively.
So it's a double-edged sword.
It is. It can be used for good or for evil.
That's pretty unsettling.
It is, but it's also really fascinating.
What else did they talk about?
The Internet of Things.
IoT, right? All those smart devices.
Exactly. Everything from your fridge to your thermostat to your car is connected to the internet.
Which is convenient, but also kind of scary.
Yeah, because it creates more entry points for hackers.
So if someone hacks into my smart fridge, they can control my house?
Potentially, yeah. It's important to make sure your devices are properly secured.
That's a lot to think about.
It is. And then there's cryptocurrencies.
Oh yeah, like Bitcoin.
Exactly.
Mm.
Those have become a popular way for hackers to receive ransom payments.
Why is that?
Well, cryptocurrencies offer anonymity, which makes it harder for law enforcement to track the money.
So it's like the perfect currency for criminals.
Kinda, yeah, it adds another layer of complexity to the fight against cybercrime.
Wow, so it sounds like the future of cybercrime is going to be even more challenging.
It probably will be, but the key is to stay informed and adapt.
So we got to keep learning and evolving.
Exactly. Knowledge is power.
I feel like we could talk about this for hours.
Yeah, there's so much to cover.
It really is a deep dive.
But I think we've hit on some of the key points.
Yeah, and I think the main takeaway for me is that it's not hopeless.
Right, you don't have to be a victim.
Yeah, we can take steps to protect ourselves.
And it's not about being perfect. It's just about being aware.
Yeah, and being proactive.
Exactly. And the threat landscape is always changing, so it's important to stay informed.
Like, this isn't a one-time thing. You got to keep learning.
Yeah, it's an ongoing process.
But I think sometimes people get overwhelmed.
I get it. It can feel like a lot.
Where do you even begin?
Right, but it doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah, it's about finding that balance between convenience and security.
Exactly. Like, I love my smart devices, but I also want to make sure they're not going to be hacked.
So it's about making informed choices.
Right. And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, there are tons of resources out there.
There are organizations dedicated to cybersecurity awareness and even government agencies that provide guidance.
And there's software you can use to help protect yourself.
Right. Like antivirus and VPNs.
And I think it's important to remember that we're not alone in this.
Yeah, cybercrime affects everyone.
So we need to share information and help each other stay safe.
Exactly. It's like a digital neighborhood watch.
I like that we look out for each other.
And we can make the internet a safer place for everyone.
Well, this has been a fascinating journey into the world of cybercrime.
It has. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, knowledge is power.
The more you know, the better equipped you'll be to protect yourself.
So stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe out there.